5 richest criminals of all time. And today we'll be talking about the worst of the worst, the bad boys of the bad boys, those people who've done anything possible just to earn a buck, even if that meant killing a few people every now and then. Their fortunes are counted in the billions. You heard us, billions with a B. One of these criminals even had an entire TV show inspired by his life because when he got cold, he used stacks of money to start a fire. They were all the most feared people in the underworld. They ran entire drug cartels, and the police, FBI, and DEA were all hunting them down. Today, we're going to see what it was like in the life of these notorious drug lords in the 5 richest criminals of all time. Let's jump right in. Number 5. Carlos Enrique, later Rivas. His dad, a German engineer, moved to Armenia, Colombia to build a new age skyscraper that has, get this, elevators. After a short while, he married Helena Rivas, whose father was a famed jeweler in Manizales. From Klaus Wilhelm later, he changed his name to Guillermo later. Alongside his wife, they ran a couple of successful businesses, and they had 4 sons, one of which, you guessed it, Carlos Enrique, later Rivas. When he was 15 years old, his parents separated, and following the divorce, he emigrated to New York City with his mother. The big city lights changed his life and outlook on life. He was a stolen car dealer, a marijuana dealer, and he smuggled cars from the United States into Canada. When he got caught, he was sentenced to federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut. It's there that his plans to revolutionize the cocaine industry started to take shape. His roommate, George Jung, was to be one of his partners in the deal, and his breakthrough idea, smuggle cocaine into the United States using small aircraft. His initial goal was to buy a small plane. How did he do it? He used to send 2 women on a vacation to Antigua, where they would fill their bags with cocaine and take it back to America, where it would be sold. After the boat, they decided to buy an entire island, the headquarters of their operations. This was Norman Clay. He became so powerful that kidnapping groups like M16 attempted to take him and sell him for a ransom. He managed to escape and afterwards formed the MAS, Muerte a Secuestradores, or Death to Kidnappers. He formed this group to take down the people who tried to kidnap him. He partnered with Pablo Escobar and many other drug lords, which gave birth to the Medellin cartel. Carlos was the transportation guy and Pablo made the cocaine. He had a net worth of $2.7 billion. They were unstoppable together, or so they thought. In 1987, later was extradited to the United States, and after trial, he was sentenced to life without parole, plus 135 years on top of that. Number 4. Kun Sa. Born on February 17, 1934 in Loi Ma, Mongolia, Burma, he was part of a mixed family. His father was Chinese and his mother was Shan. They both died when he was very young. He was only 3 when his mother passed away, and at 5, his father did too. Since then, Kun was raised by his grandfather and his Chinese name was Zhang Qifu. He had no formal education, besides the Buddhist education which lasted only a few years and the military training from Kuman Tang. He was practically illiterate. When he was 16, he formed his own band of soldiers, which as the years went by became so powerful, it actually counted about 100 men in the ranks, which meant it could split from Kuman Tang and run his own special organization. It all began with the creation of Kei Kui Ye, Home Guard, and his battles against the Shan rebels. The Burmese government applauded him on his patriotic actions and allowed him to grow his opium and heroin routes in the country. They hoped he would continue fighting the Shan force, but like many drug lords before him who got too powerful too quick, he used the money he earned running the drug cartel to fund his own army and launch attacks against the government. After he was defeated, his army strength declined. He was imprisoned at Heiho Airport in 1969. He served his sentence, and upon release in 1974, he started the biggest drug cartel in the region, known as the Golden Triangle. His cartel was behind 80% of the U.S. heroin and was the best on the market with 90% purity. He had a leading role in the heroin industry for 2 decades, 1974 to 1994. His power began to decline, his armies to diminish. He finally gave up control of his army in 1996, and the government allowed him to move to Rangoon freely, along with his children and mistresses. His net worth was $5 billion, and he used his money to start a new business in the region. Number 3. Viktor Bout. Viktor Bout, unlike our previous two picks, is not a drug dealer. Instead, he decided to go into the arms industry to illegally make his fortune. Not much is known of his early life, not even the date of birth. It's thought that Bout was born on January 13, 1967, but there are several other records to deny this date. He was born in Dushanbe, Tajik, SSR. His records say that he graduated from the Military Institute of Foreign Language and served in the Soviet Army forces. As a young boy, he was very intelligent and managed to learn Esperanto by the age of 12. He later became a polyglot and spoke 6 languages, thus serving as a translator for the Soviet Army and had a rank of lieutenant. He was discharged from the Soviet Army to pursue his endeavors in starting an air freight business in 1991. And that's when he started Richest in Angola, Africa. His company operated 4 Antonov AN-8 planes, and he used them for transportation of goods and people. He has supplied weapons to many organizations and countries. By 1994, Bout made shipment to pre-Taliban government of Afghanistan. He was then found transporting weapons from Burgas Airport in Bulgaria, which were made by the Bulgarian weapons manufacturers. Eyewitnesses claim that Richest planes landed in Liberia carrying illegal weapons for Charles Taylor. And in 1993, Bout collaborated with Richard Chichakli, the commercial manager of the Free Trade Zone for Sharjah International Airport, UAE. The police had a hard time catching Viktor, who had numerous companies with a net worth of more than $6 billion and constantly moved around the globe. In 2008, he was arrested by the Royal Thai Police, who in 2010 extradited him to the USA. And in 2012, he was sentenced to 25 years in prison. He's currently 70 years old. Number 2. Amado Carrillo Fuentes. He had to fight his way to the top. He even had to kill Rafael Aguilar Guarardo, his own boss, in order to take control of the Juarez cartel. He's known by his underground name, El Señor de los Cielos, or the Lord of the Skies. He got his nickname because of the monstrous fleet of jets he used to transport the drugs. It's Independence Day in America, 1956. Guamachalito, Novelado, Sinaloa, Mexico. A baby by the name of Amado Carrillo Fuentes is born. His fate was already sealed, as his uncle Ernesto Fonseca Carrillo was the leader of the Guadalajara cartel. And little Amado was already learning the trade from his uncle. His brothers followed suit. He was initially in charge of overseeing the cocaine shipments of the Guadalajara cartel, and he was also in charge of learning about border operations. He later worked with Pablo Escobar and the Cali cartel, which they used to smuggle cocaine to the U.S. from Colombia. Believe it or not, Amado also worked with El Chapo and many other famous drug lords of the time. When silent marches against the governor Jorge Carrillo Olea began to appear in the state of Morelos, because of his assumed affiliation with drug traffickers, Carrillo Fuentes decided to change his appearance, undergoing plastic surgery and liposuction. He didn't survive the surgery, and his $25 billion net worth and the Juarez cartel were left without a leader. Number 1. Pablo Emilio Escobar. Here he is, folks. You can't talk about the richest criminals in history without mentioning Pablo Escobar, the Colombian drug lord and leader of the Cali cartel, the Medellin cartel, as well as other affiliates with Carlos Enrique, later Rivas, and Amado Carrillo Fuentes. He is the notorious king of cocaine, with a net worth of $30 billion, which in today's money would equal $59 billion. Yeah, let that sink in a while. He was born in Rio Negro on December 1, 1949, but was raised in Medellin. He started university, but found out that the life of a scholar was not meant for him. He instead focused on selling fake lottery tickets, illegal cigarettes, and stole parked cars. After this, he began working as a drug smuggler and kidnapper. After amassing a small fortune, he started the Medellin cartel, which grew to such an extent that he managed to import around 70 to 80 tons of cocaine in the U.S. on a weekly basis from Colombia. Due to his vastly successful cartel, he amassed a huge fortune and constantly led battles with rival cartels, as well as taking part in massacres and murders of many police officers. He even managed to get elected as an alternate member of the Chamber of Representatives during the 1982 parliamentary elections in Colombia. He used this position to take part in many community projects, building schools, hospitals, football fields, and more, which made him popular with the people. With the FBI, DEA, and Colombian Police Department constantly on his tail, he grew tired of running and decided to hand himself over. But he first struck a deal with Colombian President Cesar Gaviria to not extradite him to the United States, and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He escaped after the first year and went into hiding, which provoked a nationwide manhunt, eventually ending with Escobar's death from the police on December 2nd, 1993. So that's our list, guys. Are there any other famous criminals you like that we forgot to mention here? If you'd like more videos like these, subscribe to our channel and hit the notifications bell so you never miss an upload. As always, thanks for watching.